Namaste. Now we will understand the four principles of Bharatiyata, one after the other. First, let me start off with a very brief introduction to Dharma. Dharma, like as it said, is like the code of conduct for achieving the final purpose of life, that is moksha. But Dharma actually is like also the universal law or rule that runs the whole existence. So there is a rule or there is a law that is running this whole existence, and that is Dharma. That which holds Dharati, that which is holding the whole universe. And the law that is holding, the principle that is holding the whole universe is Dharma. But when it comes to practicality, I would say that there are 24 guiding principles for Dharma. And these 24 guiding principles, I won't call them as values, they are mostly guiding principles of how our life should be led. Okay, these 24 guiding principles are actually represented by the 24 spokes of the Ashoka Chakra that is there in our tricolor flag. These 24 principles, guiding principles, like I will say, I'll just quote 10 of them, the first 10 of them. The first 10 of them are Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya. Then Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana. So these 10, first let us just look at these 10 simple, very simple level, very simple definitions I will give. Satya means truth, but truth which is not very harsh. Okay, you can be very harsh in calling a blind man, but instead of that, in this part of the world we would not call a blind man, we would call him a person with Jnana Chakshu, like a person with an eye of knowledge. Okay, so a person with awakened third eye, like that, we would address him with that kind of a way. So the truth would not be told in a very harsh way. So truth, that is just a simple definition. There is much more things to Satya, which maybe when you come for any workshop you can understand that. Then Ahimsa. Ahimsa is not just non-violence, practicing non-violence. Okay, it is said that a person who practices non-violence, in his presence nobody will be violent. That is the kind of vibrations that the person is radiating. So the practice of Ahimsa should lead to a situation where you don't radiate even violence. Forget practicing violence, stop practicing violence, but you don't even radiate violence, you only radiate non-violence. That is one thing. Asteya, non-stealing, that is what they say. But Asteya is like, if everybody were to practice Asteya, then today we would not require copyrights and all these other things which people are using, copyrights and what else, maybe patents and all that, because these rules and laws have been enforced because people are not practicing Asteya, non-stealing to that extent, like, okay, if somebody has done something wonderful, you attribute it to him, it is that person's beauty. Okay, so that kind of non-stealing. But because we are not practicing this principle of Asteya, we require stringent laws on copyright and patents. Okay, so that is Asteya. Practice of Asteya wouldn't, if the whole world was practicing Asteya today, we didn't be in this kind of a situation. Okay, then Aparigraha, non-hoarding. See, hoarding is like, I want this, I want that, I want everything, keeping a lot of things, stuff with you. And I still remember, and when I'm discussing with some people, many people tell me this, like I was with my friend who was celebrating his 20th wedding anniversary, and then I went to his house and congratulated him and all that. Then they were talking, and in the discussion they said, when we started off our journey, we just had a single room and we didn't even have a cot. We used to sleep on the floor. But today a 4-bedroom house is also not enough to keep all the stuff that we have gathered over these years. So in spite of not having space, we have gathered that much amount of things. That means that is parigraha. Keeping things, hoarding, keeping. This is also good. That is I require. I don't know why I will require this. So let me keep it. Whether I need it or not, I may not use it for years, but I still have it. This is parigraha. Aparigraha is the opposite of that. Living a life with minimal requirements and minimal needs. So that aparigraha is something that we have to practice, and that is one of the principles. Like that we have shaucha santosha, like keeping ourselves completely clean. If we keep ourselves completely clean, then no virus can do anything to us. Okay, so keeping ourselves clean, shaucha, physically clean, mentally clean, socially clean. So today we have to practice this social distancing suddenly. That is because we have not kept ourselves socially clean. Let's be very frank about it. Okay, we have not kept ourselves socially clean. So all these things forms part of shaucha. Santosha. See, many people tell me this thing is called santosha. It is like satisfaction and happiness both put together. But they say that when you have satisfaction and happiness, then you can't achieve anything. Sorry. Only through satisfaction and happiness you can achieve anything in life. If you are not satisfied with what you have, you will never go one step further. So if you have to go further, you have to be satisfied with where you are now and be happy. Only with a happy state of mind you can achieve anything, and only when you are satisfied and at peace you can achieve anything. So santosha is that. Tapa, swadhyaya, ishvara pranidhana. Now these three also we'll get into. Okay, tapa is like practicing something which is not very comfortable to you. We keep ourselves in our comfort zones and we fail to grow. If we go beyond our comfort zones, only then we can grow. The most comfortable phase of our life was in our mother's womb. Can we remain in our mother's womb forever? No. Because we came out of our mother's womb, today we are living. So that nature itself is telling you to break out of your comfort zones. So to break out of comfort zones and go beyond is tapa. That is like burning, tapa. Okay, and when you go beyond that, that is tapa. Not just standing on one hand or one leg and then closing your eyes and putting your hands on top, like many comics they show this, somebody did tapa for 1000 years. No, that is not just, that is one form of tapa, but other than that, the greatest tapa is to go beyond our comfort zones. Swadhyaya, to do self study. If I don't understand myself, I cannot understand the world. Let's understand this first. You have to understand yourselves completely to understand the world, because the world is only a projection of yourself. The whole world is only a projection of yourself. So to understand the world, you have to go deep inside and understand yourself. And understanding ourselves is swadhyaya. At every step, understanding ourselves is swa-adhyaya. Swadhyaya is swa-adhyaya, which means understanding our own self. And Ishvara Pranidhana. When we practice all these things, there is a certain sense of ego. Oh, I am doing a lot of things. Sorry, that is not going to take you anywhere. usually people who have succeeded and people who have really seen very good success, if you ask them how did you succeed, they will say, I don't know actually. They will say, I don't know, it just happened. They will never talk about how much of effort they have put. Somebody else will tell that these people have put so much of effort. But there is a chance that the ego can come up. So that breaking that ego and offering everything to some divine force, Ishvara Pranidhana, telling that some divine force has inspired me to do this, that Ishvara Pranidhana. So practicing these values, these are the first 10 values, okay. Satya, Ahimsa, Astheya, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya. Yeah, I didn't speak about Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is also usually associated with, practicing sexual continence, like not having sex and all that. No, that is one part of Brahmacharya. Yes, I agree, I do agree, that is one part of Brahmacharya, but that is not Brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means living like Brahman, like the divine. There are a lot more other things. You have to, a Brahmachari should live with barest minimum requirements in life. Like for example, sleeping on just a mat, okay, not using a soft pillow or a whatever, a bed or a cot or something like that, just sleeping on a mat, and eating sattvic food. It's a big tapa. Eating only sattvic food. A person who is practicing Brahmacharya has to follow all these things. And then also like interacting with everybody like himself. Okay, seeing yourself in everybody and seeing everybody in yourself. This practice has to be there. That talking to everybody and behaving with everybody with belongingness. This is also part of Brahmacharya. So Brahmacharya has got a huge importance. Practice of Brahmacharya has to be there in life. So these things, these first 10 principles are these. Now there are other 14 more principles. I'll just talk about one principle, and then probably rest of them you can come and much more in a much more detailed way you can understand them in one of the workshops. One I will talk about is about Dhriti. This is something that is lacking in today's generation. Probably 2-3 generations back also it didn't exist. Dhriti is something that I would say that it is a combination of persistence, commitment and constant action. Persistence, commitment and constant action. Like many people today, what they do is they are not persistent with what they want to do. They just do little bit of here something, little bit of something else, little bit of something else, and end up being jack of all but master of none. So that is not Dhriti. Dhriti is facing everything, all difficulties, good, bad, rise, fall, everything, and pursuing with one force or one focus anything that you take up in life and achieving the maximum final stage. So it requires commitment, it requires persistent action, and it also requires constant action, like you keep on acting, you don't stop. So this kind of thing is Dhriti. Okay, so this is one of the one more of the 24 values. So bringing these 24 values into your life and practicing these 24 values in your life is dharma. Now look at this. Does it have anything to do with religion? Actually no. But in today's context, dharma is directly taken as translation of religion. Sorry, religion is not dharma. Dharma is a code of conduct, as I am telling you, a code of conduct to lead life. Nothing to do with religion. You can belong to any religion you want to. You can do whatever you want. Whether you believe in God or don't believe in God, it doesn't matter. Just practice dharma, that's all. That is why this dharma, these values, they called it as eternal values. They said that Esha dharmaha sanatana. This dharma is eternal. They never said this is eternal dharma. So that's what I want to just make a point here, that this is not called Sanatan dharma, but this dharma is Sanatana. You understand this? And Sanatana is eternal always. This dharma is going to be there eternally always, because these principles don't change. Whatever may be the age, whatever may be the situation, these 24 principles don't change. They are eternal. One who follows this is dharmic, one who doesn't follow it is adharmic. That's all. This is the only simple thing, dharma or adharma. Whatever you choose, it's up to you. Okay, it's not even said that if you choose adharma, something else will happen. Yes, you choose adharma, you can choose. You do that, and then whatever happens is up to you. You face it, it's yours. If you choose dharma, then whatever happens, once again it's yours. So that is why this principle of dharma is something which holds everything together. The whole universe, it holds the whole universe together. Dharati, coming from that root word, dharma. Okay, and to bring these principles into practice, okay, to make these principles as your second nature, okay, there are a lot of practices that you have to do, lot of practices, and those practices are part of daily lifestyle. Like, let me just tell one small practice which I was when I was a child also. It was actually when we were children, it was literally forced upon us, and I, at that time, not knowing what it is, I didn't like it also. The moment we wake up, we were told to touch the earth and say Samudra Vasane Devi Parvata Sthala Mandali Vishnupatri Namastabhyam Padasparsham Shamasvama. We should touch the earth and pray to it and ask for forgiveness, so that because we are stamping on you. You are the one who is holding us, but we are stamping on you. So we are asking, like we are asking for apologies from the earth. At that time it didn't mean much, but now when I look back and I see that when you are revering this earth that much, you are taking the earth to that level and you are revering the earth, you will lead a life which is eco-friendly, environmentally friendly, and you will not destroy nature. So that is the final purpose. So to bring about this, that environment friendliness, you are having a practice, one of the practices, to touch the earth and pray. So these kind of practices we had. Okay, we had a lot of these kind of practices every day also, and some of them practiced once in a year, or some of them practiced like throughout a particular month. So like that we had lot of practices which will bring these values inside you very naturally. So that is dharma. Following this is dharma. So this is the main and the first principle, and as I told you, the code of conduct for achieving the final purpose of moksha.